Now for global business updates, Rotus Oddiri joins us. Good morning, Rotus.
Good morning, Dr. Abasi. Good morning, Ayo. Good morning, Rufai, my tech bro. Good morning to all our viewers out there. Oil, looking at its first weekly drop since October of 2024. Brent crude, about 4.9% for the week. West Texas, same margin. Same thing. Tariffs, fear about supply, fear about demand. We go to Asia markets. It would have been blood red had it not been for the Nifty 50. Same thing you all have all talked about. Trump and his confusion. Asia markets following Wall Street. Everywhere just falling. China released its trade numbers this morning for January and February. Trade surplus of 170.5 billion, but there was a big drop in expectations for exports, 2.3%. December was 10.7. This is January and February. So it looks like the tariffs, the ones that Trump has put in early, have started to take effect. Imports fell by 8.4%. The estimate was for growth of 1%. December, 1% growth. From there, we moved to Bitcoin, I think. Bitcoin dropped. The other one also because of a White House statement. There's a crypto summit that's taking place today. So 88,226. Fell about 4%. The White House released this statement very quickly ahead of their crypto summits here. In addition, the executive order establishes a U.S. digital asset stockpile consisting of digital assets other than Bitcoin forfeited in criminal or civil proceedings. The government will not acquire additional assets for the stockpile beyond those obtained through forfeiture proceedings. So that basically means that they will not be adding anything that has not already been seized. That is basically this Bitcoin stockpile. Crypto stockpile is just basically seized assets. Then this is also key. The Secretaries of Treasury and Commerce are authorized to develop budget-neutral strategies for acquiring additional Bitcoin, provided that those strategies have no incremental cost on American taxpayer, meaning that whatever you used to buy the Bitcoin has to be balanced out because the U.S. is facing a deficit. All right, we quickly move from Bitcoin to the chaos that we've been seeing across all the markets with U.S. President Trump essentially alternating, actually, first crypto summit, let me put the date. So the date is actually today. Friday, later on today, the White House will be hosting its first ever crypto summit. We want to get more information on more information on this Bitcoin reserve, how it is supposed to be promoted, and so on and so forth. All right, to the tariffs, again, you've seen what's been happening with the markets, but I heard how you're talking about the automobile parts, the flip-flop, essentially. Here's a quote on that from Adam Cifarelli, his ex-JP Morgan. Here's what he said about the automobile thing. He said, exempting automakers for just 1 month from draconian tariffs is like putting a band-aid on a bullet wound, given the torrent of trade tariff announcements planned by the White House in the coming months. Essentially, what do you expect these automobile manufacturers to do in 30 days? Do you want them to move around their supply chains? Things are so incredibly integrated. And what's the point of the 30-day reprieve? He's now backed out twice. Here, executive sentiment has soured. This is a contributor to Bloomberg. Listen to what she said about talking to CEOs about this tariff flip-flop and how it's causing uncertainty.
I get mostly CFOs who are saying that this is causing a lot of cost and pain, and they're not necessarily seeing at this point that there's a benefit to it. I think one big issue is this flip-flopping on tariffs. So I think it's one thing to say, okay, we're going to implement these tariffs. But the problem is, of course, we've seen it this week again, that tariffs were implemented on Canadian and on Mexican goods only to be taken away 1 or 2 days later. I spoke to a CFO yesterday who was saying to me, well, if I want to move my factory, if I want to move my supply chain, I need to be able to tell my suppliers that this is what we'll do. Of course, you can't really do that if 2 days later the tariff is gone. And so I think that is driving a lot of the uncertainty, because businesses, what I'm hearing is very much that, A, they don't like the tariffs, but also if there are tariffs, then they want certainty and they want to know what's A and what's B. This current situation that we're seeing where we're going from A to B to nowhere, that's, I think, the worst from a sort of business sentiment perspective.
All right, you guys know how Trump likes to, when he signs an executive order, he likes to display it. So online, this has been floating, the chaos, Trump chaos meme. So instead of the executive order with his signature, It says, I love to create drama and chaos. So it's been going up and down. So Nigeria, we're talking about power yesterday, and our new, I don't know if I should call it milestone, or is it 5,800 megawatts. Allegedly, Air Force, members of the Air Force, again, allegedly stormed, well, I'm just being, I saw your tweet. You talked to the Ikeja Electric CEO. I tried to reach her. I asked her to come on. She doesn't want to come on, but basically, it's over a disconnection. The Air Force apparently went to the Ikeja Electric and stormed it over disconnection. MDAs, ministries, departments, and agencies in Nigeria owe a lot of money to the discos. The Minister of Power himself, talked about how much the federal government is owing.
The disco for over 4.8 billion.
It's a trillion. That's in total. If you add the Gencos plus Discos plus everybody.
The Air Force is owing
right. But see,
4.8 billion.
Thank you. Parallel this with UCH. UCH was disconnected. They were protesting, but this one they used allegedly violence to go there and it's something else. Anyway,
it's not allegedly.
I see. No, exactly. I'm with you. Finally, it's Friday, so. Artificial intelligence, just you guys know my love for this. Grok 3 is part of XAI. XAI, of course, is Elon Musk's OpenAI, OpenAI artificial intelligence company. Grok 3 is the latest update on the software, and it actually has full voice conversations. It is actually pretty intuitive. And I decided to do a little demonstration for us this morning. Okay, let me try. Let me make sure. Good morning, Rock. What can you tell me about Arise News in Lagos, Nigeria?
Oh, I'm not Grok. I'm a different assistant. As for Arise News in Lagos, Nigeria, I can tell you it's a well-known TV network based there. It covers news, politics, business, and more, with a focus on African stories. It's been around since 2013 or so, broadcasting both locally and internationally. Does that help? Anything specific you want to know about it?
No, actually, I'm live.
And I don't have the latest scoop since I'm not plugged into real-time updates.
Thank you. I'm actually live on air at work, so I'm going to have to leave. I'll talk to you later. Thank you so much. All right, and that's pretty much the updates with a little AI demonstration. All right, well, yeah, but the Ikeja Electric.
I have empirical facts. When I say empirical,
but Rufai,
You're live.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The point here is that
No
the issue with the amount of money owed to the discos, Gencos, and the value chain. This is all part of that. I didn't want to leave that out, right?
No, that's the
we
most
have to
important
exactly, and there's also the subsidies and everything. But go right ahead.
No, that's the most. So there's no allegedly there. They came to do it, and there's a letter to that effect which I'll be able to share with those high up there in the military hierarchy.
Yeah.
This was a letter written 48 hours when the Air Force people. This letter was signed by an Air Force commander saying fix our power back in 48 hours. They had been going back and forth with the electric saying you're not paying our bills, 4.8 billion.
Yeah.
They said your organization holds a privileged position. However, the privilege is being abused. The troops under our command are on edge. As commander, I'm doing my best to control them. The troops are not ignorant. They are aware that the power outage is deliberate and they see it as an act of sabotage. Electricity supplies to the bases right now for military personnel in service of the nation. More so, the money was remitted for service. Evolving from the foregoing, you are advised to restore power to the base within 48 hours. Please accept our esteem of high regards and all of that. So that was an open threat. Telling somebody, the commander was telling these people, the electric, that the troops are on edge. I'm trying to correct, comport them. And the troops truly went on edge and destroy everything. They hurt people, Rotus.
Yeah.
I've got somebody close to me that his leg is broken today. Over 10 people in the hospital. What level of madness and barbarity is that?
It's really
the same military we all speak up for? No, the Air Force must pay for it. They must be sued for everything they did. Yes, it's not allegedly.
Right.
I know you are quoting the media allegedly so that you don't fall. It's empirical facts. They threatened and they did it. What country are we living in?
So in terms of business confidence, let me speak about that and the actions of the Air Force. Yeah. It sends a very bad signal to investors. We keep talking about how we want to attract investors, especially in the power sector, and make it more attractive. But if they see that when an institution doesn't pay bills, the next thing they do is to come and beat you up, either they lock you up, put up trumped-up charges against you so that they avoid paying, then you cannot ask people to come in and invest in that sector, because what is the guarantee that I would get paid for the services I've offered? So in the business climate it looks really bad, aside from the the welfare of the staff members. And I hope that there will be a hard response to these actions so that we can also improve confidence. Because if I were the one, I would never, if I'm not guaranteed of protection, you would rather never send anything. And then how can you owe 4.8 billion naira to a business, one entity? The other time we released the list of government agencies that owed electricity bills. Why can't they pay the electricity bill? So an investigator, many parts to it. Aside from the Air Force officers who came in to beat the staff members, who was responsible for paying the bills? Was money allocated to that? And did somebody make away with that amount of money that the bill wasn't paid? There were the same questions we asked with the UCH incident as to how can you run an institution for so long? Budget is passed every year and you are owing up onto this amount of money. You can then understand, because a lot of people were saying, Ikeja Disco as well, all these discos, they cut our lights, they don't give us. But you can also understand the difficult terrain they work in, where they give a service and people don't pay up for the service. Yeah. And then on to Trump, I'll just say that with regards to his coming back and forth. Flip-flop. You also recall that he's not only facing flip-flop of tariffs, he's also facing legal pushback to some of his policies. Yeah. Only 2 days ago, Supreme Court ruled against his withholding of $2 billion in funding for USAID.
That's already been approved by Congress.
Yes, so contractors who have already done their work. Yeah. So he is, just chaos. To say that he's very chaotic.
Okay, let me run through this story very quickly. Yeah. On the question of tariffs and Trump, yes, the uncertainty that this has created. If you look at the stock market, NASDAQ is in correction territory. Mm-hmm. S&P 500 went down. Yesterday, all the major indexes in the U.S. fell. Yeah. S&P 500 by as high as 1.8%. Right. However, Trump, in responding to this, says, well, it's not because of the tariffs. The experts think it's because of the tariffs and the risk that investors are trying to manage. He says, well, this is going to be temporary disturbance. The U.S. is going to gain more from it. But the truth of the matter is that people are saying these tariffs will create a lot of hardship, even for Americans themselves. But he says, well, if that happens, blame the globalists. Mm-hmm. Who the globalists are, he has not defined. Exactly. That's the first point about that. About the cryptocurrency summit today, cryptocurrency went down yesterday from 90,000 range to about 84,000 range. The lowest that we have had in the last 3 months was 88. Now it's down to 84 because that's not what the investors are expecting. It didn't meet their expectations. Finally, on Ikeja Electric. In the 80s, when Babangida was still president, we had the Mad Dog episode. The Mad Dog. It was the Nigerian Air Force, this same Nigerian Air Force, that embarrassed Chief M.K.O. Abiola, and they were referred to as the Mad Dogs. To hear that in 2025, we have the return of the Mad Dogs of the Nigerian Air Force is very embarrassing. It's an indication of the kind of problems that we are having with this democracy. Now, Major General Air Marshal Hassan, I think that's the name of the Air Force chief, and the Chief of Defense Staff, they must look into this matter. Those crooks wearing uniform who took the law into their hands must be sanctioned. They must be identified because the Nigerian Air Force operates under the Constitution of Nigeria. Nobody can say that they are above the law, whether you are wearing uniform or you are wearing camouflage. If you are owing, you pay for electricity. What they did at Ikeja Disco yesterday, I think is something that the Nigerian Air Force should publicly apologize for. If we don't pay electricity bills as civilians, they cut off our lights. Exactly. So why should soldiers be different? They must pay.
They must pay. That's it.
Well said.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.